I've only seen her twice. Oh, come on. I know her name. Okay, let me come back to that. Okay, we've done Janet. One of Janet's, well, actually, both of Janet's daughters have daughters. This gets more complicated, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, Sierra is Vanessa's daughter, and I have never seen the other, Melody's daughter, and I could think of her name too, but I can't come up with it. Isn't that terrible? But I can't. You go down to Yvonne is soon to be a grandmother.
Yeah.
Not
And they're expecting a boy, aren't they?
yeah. And I know his name too.
Oh.
I'll come back to that. Becky is not a grandmother yet. And there's Robert, and there's Cindy. No, okay, so those are, let's see, if I can try to do them all justice. I'm thinking of Derek's daughter's name is
Well,
Willow.
maybe.
Willow, that's.
Oh, Willow.
Yeah,
That's
Willow.
right.
I knew the name, but I couldn't get it. And I'm still trying to figure out,
Well, maybe it'll come to you as we
Yeah.
go into the next section,
yeah.
which is beliefs and expectations. If you belong to religion, has your faith helped you during the difficult periods of your life, and if so, how?
Oh, yeah. When things reach a point where there's no, well, you don't have to wait till things reach a desperate point, but religion is something you can depend on to get you over some of these bad times and to let you sail through good times. It's a state of mind that where you know that there's a power greater than you, and it's you can. Sometimes all you can do is pray, but you're doing that, and that that's something to do.
What do you believe happens to people after they die?
Well, I know there's an afterlife. I don't know if you call it heaven, and people are floating around in clouds and playing harps, but I know there's an afterlife.
What do you think each of us owes to the less fortunate of the world?
Well, I think we owe to be more generous with the less fortunate, and I'm among many who feel he's not doing enough. I mean, I don't, but you can get wrapped up in our own world.
When you judge yourself in your own mind, is there a person against whom you measure yourself? If so, who is that person and why do you look up to them?
I think my mother of all people, because of the values that she gave Paul and I really, from all the times I'm growing up, I look up to her.
What makes life worth living for you? In other words, why do you bother getting up in the morning? And how has your personal answer to that question changed over the years?
Well, I think when you're younger, you need to strive to do better, to make more money, or to do. There are things you strive for, but at my age, life is lived through your personal relationships with people and the interaction with your kids and grandkids, and I'm really glad that we see so much of each other. That's through other people, I guess.
What are the most important rules you've made for yourself to cope with the tragedies and adversities of life?
To cope with adversities. I think for me, just figure out what has to be done and try to do it. And if it can't be done or you can't do it, don't try not to sweat it out. Just pray about it and let it go.
Has your life turned out the way you thought it would when you were young?
I never thought it would be. I never had any thoughts about what life would be. I just was living each day, and then when I got married, I had no idea what, how things would go. I just don't.
Is there an incident or insight that changed you and permanently altered your future? What was it that happened and how did it affect you?
There's a lot of things in life that just you turn a corner and bump into somebody, or you get on a bus and you see somebody and that person change. Things like that can happen in your life. I very definitely meeting Betty was a major turning point in my life. Without that, I don't know what, I mean, or I'd be a different person, and I just don't know what my life would be like.
What is the biggest risk you ever took in your life and how did it work out?
I don't think I ever took any big risks. I'm more or less kind of a non-risk taker. If I had a few minutes, I could probably think of some risk, but I'm just not a risk taker.
How important has friendship been in your life? How successful have you been in making and sustaining friendships?
When friendship is very important when you're growing up. For me, I always had at least one good friend and close friends, and in high school. And when I was in high school, Vern Kilberg was probably my best friend most of the time there. Like I said, this guy Don Nordstrom, he and I were very good friends, and over the years. But since I've been married, I don't try to cultivate a lot of friendships. It sounds selfish or whatever, but I just don't seem to have the time to put into, because to be a friend you got to be there for them. This sounds like I'm some kind of a hermit or something, but I had my family, I got my wife, and I have a lot of people that I know that I would call friends of mine, but really close friends like the guys in high school, I don't know.
Did you carry any friendships over from the service?
No, I just...
Sometimes people do that.
Yeah, no, I never did.
If you had your life to live over again, what, if anything, would you change?
Well, I would pick a different line of work, something that I liked. I've never really, I mean, if you don't like your work, it's not too pleasant. But we talked about a lot of work change before, but yeah, I think that's the one thing I would do.
What is the best piece of advice you were ever given?
Well, I've had one major, well, a lot of problems, but in my mind, the biggest problem I've had in my whole life was this shyness. And I can't say that somebody told me something, but I was, I was told that, you know, to just be myself, and I don't know, we went to somewhere along the line, or on Reddit or something, and try not to be, I would always try to be somebody else, act like I was outgoing and gregarious and all this, but anyway.
Well, weren't you president of your senior class?
Yeah, but all that was because I was trying to look like I was real popular and everything. You know, I mean, I know why I did this stuff now. I knew at the time. Well, I got along with everybody, but yeah, anyway, it's I don't know if that answers your question.
So looking back at your life, of what are you most proud?
I think I'm most proud that I married Betty and that I got the kids that I have. There's nothing that I personally have accomplished that I think is worth, you know, really talking about.
The next section is politics and people. When did you first vote for a president? Who were the candidates and what was important to you in making your decision?
I voted for Eisenhower over Adlai Stevenson. And the reason is because my family had always been Republicans, and I always, you know, that's what I thought I should.
What year was that?
That would be let's see, I don't know, 50.
6 maybe, or?
I was the first president I voted for, too.
Yeah, because, well, then we had to be 21, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway,
So
I was at least 21 years
I
old.
was,
But he ran against Stevenson twice and beat him both times. So I don't know whether you might have voted, I don't know.
So, I mean, Eisenhower ran twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
for a second term, yeah.
Over the years, have you belonged to one or more political parties, and if so, what policies or positions drew you to that party?
No, I've never belonged to a party. Well, I guess if you sign up and I voted Republican a lot. I voted Democrat a lot. Right now, I'm way more leaning towards the Democrats because, well, I don't know.
I thought you told me you were an independent.
I'm registered a Democrat now,
Oh.
but I really think I'm kind of independent. I don't think a lot of these politicians are all what they're stacked up to be.
Describe the world events that were most important in your lifetime.
Worldly events.
World events.
Oh, the World War II. I mean, my whole growing up seemed like it was done under World War II. And there was major differences in lifestyle. The Korean War, because I got drafted, but I didn't have to go over there, so that was not much. I don't think any more drastically affected me.
A public figure once said, "If I should have to choose between my friend and my country, I hope I should have the courage to choose my friend." Do you agree or disagree with this, and why?
I don't know. I don't know that you can answer that because there's so many nuances to the
Yeah.
question.
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
What if your friend's a Nazi? Okay, who were your heroes when you were growing up, and who are they now?
Heroes, when I was very young, they were cartoonists and baseball heroes. All the famous baseball stars. I didn't think much about the other sports. Pro football wasn't much of a thing when we were growing up. It wasn't.
It was kind of, it was there, but it wasn't very, not to the extent it is now, not popular.
Yeah. singers or those kind of, I was very interested in music, always been, but they weren't, I didn't idolize any singers or band leaders. I appreciated, well, I appreciated the music. No, I'd say mainly, when I was younger, that cartoonist, I used to copy what they did.
Can you think of any cartoonist names that you particularly?
Well, Milton Caniff wrote Steve Canyon comic strips, and he before that did Terry and the Pirates, and that kind of storyline comic strip I really enjoyed and thought I could do that someday.
On Channel 10, I think it is, on, I don't know if it's every day or certain days at 2:30, there's a cartoonist
Oh yeah.
that my girlfriend and I have been watching, and he invites a cartoonist to come and speak,
Yeah.
and then he also does a little, so
Yeah.
that's kind of fun. I think it's Channel, I don't know what it would be in Haywood, but it's one of the public broadcasting,
Yeah.
and you might find that interesting. So how did your heroes influence you over the years?
How did my what?
Your heroes,
Oh.
baseball heroes,
Well,
cartoonist
they
heroes.
must not have been much of an influence because I never followed up cartooning and I never played much baseball. Although I love the game of baseball. I just, in those days, you didn't get the chance to have Little League or you had some little kind of like a Little League, but you just didn't get a chance to play.
What historical events and technologies do you feel most changed the world during your lifetime, and what were their effects?
Well,